Hello, everyone. We have a special guest, Kajol, not a stranger on my channel. And also, like, we've been in like so many things together with Clubhouse and a lot of other events as well. So thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. So excited for this. I have a lot of questions for you, which honestly, I have like been saving it for this podcast episode. Like, I'm not going to be messaging you on this. So thank you so much for taking your time on this weekend for this.
No, thanks for having me. And I'm actually slightly like scared of what you're going to be asking me because I'm just like, are you like, well, I don't, because I'm not even sure what you're going to ask me today.
Yeah, like actually something that I've been doing recently is that usually for my podcast, I give the questions ahead of time. I've stopped doing that. So now it's like, we'll get the true honesty. But I mean, you could just say whatever you're comfortable with saying. I don't think I'm asking many questions that are like, oh my God, I need some time to think about this. But
okay.
Yeah, so hopefully we get a pretty good conversation, and we want to make this as conversational as possible. So I'm going to first start off and say, can you do a short introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kajol. I work at Deloitte. I spent 4 years there, and I now do work in our proposition design and experience design team, where I basically help to come up with new experiences, new ideas, and new products for my clients as well. What do I like to do? I like to read a lot. I read so much. I write like elven stories. Oh, I'm just giving away too many secrets. People are not going to think I'm cool. And yeah, I just like to I like to travel. I like, chilling with my friends, and also have a YouTube channel where I talk about management consulting as well.
You said that you're now in, what was it, proposition?
So in Deloitte, we are split into different teams. So one of them is like customer and marketing. And within that, I sit in our customer strategy and applied design. So essentially, I come up with new products, new ideas, new experiences. And then basically help the client to build them as well. So right now, I'm actually working on a loyalty proposition review. So my client has a loyalty scheme, and they're trying to deliver another version of it. They are going, unfortunately, horribly wrong. So they've asked us to come in and review the project, review the actual strategy and the proposition, the technology, the architecture behind it, as well as like the program management and everything as well.
So I do have an icebreaker I ask every single podcast guest of mine. So if you had all the time in the world, what would you be doing?
I would be traveling and writing, I think. I actually think that corporate culture has really dumbed me down. And I feel like my creativity is like lost. So before I joined consulting, I used to write a lot. I used to read even more. And I feel like even when I sit down now to write something, it's just like cool. There's like corporate jargon coming out of my mouth, and I'm just like, this isn't normal. This is not this is not who I am. So I would just be reading, writing, traveling the world. I think that's what I'd probably be doing, and making videos. Like I didn't really initially when I started, I was like making videos was a little bit of effort. I'm not going to lie, because after work, sitting down and like trying to video yourself, talking about work again, which is great. I love to do it, but I now love it even more because I'm trying to bring my personality a bit out there as well. So I feel like I am also being myself a little bit more. Like YouTube is helping me find my identity, I think, again, basically.
That's so inspirational. I remember when I was watching your video, it was literally just yesterday, about like all these questions that people ask you. I was like, oh, from the very beginning, I could see the transformation of you being a lot more comfortable on camera. I couldn't tell if that was the case, or maybe you just felt like, oh, I need to show a professional self because my clients and my team is looking at me.
The latter. Definitely, I think I could be like that on camera. But I think I wanted to come across as professional because I was worried what would my clients or my colleagues say. And at the end of the day, like I am representing my firm in a way. And I did this mistake. I realized that actually I shouldn't have said where I work because of because now I say where I work, it means everything I do is kind of reflection on them. If I just said I worked at a Big Four firm, it'll be completely fine, I think. So I'm kind of like paying for my mistakes right now.
So I'm kind of curious about this now. Like now that you've like rediscovered yourself whenever it comes to your YouTube channel, do you feel like you've brought that personality into work as well? Or do you feel like there's a strong divide right there?
I think no. So I am who I am with my team. completely. But with my client, I would definitely be someone, you know, a bit more professional. So the side you see probably initially, which we all saw on YouTube of myself, was my side to my clients. But let's say that last video where my 5,000 subscriber video, where my personality was out there, that's me with my team. And so I was treating YouTube in a way like clients watching it, but now I'm trying to treat it like my friends are watching me at the end of the day. That's like my mind shifted a bit more.
Yeah, I think like this is constantly going to be our struggle. I know for me, I've just like, I don't care. If they find my videos, I'm just going to I'm going to be proud that I'm a crazy cat lady.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you've done it from day one. For me, it's been a real journey for me to like show myself. Like, you've been amazing. The way you've done it and the way you put your personality out there from day one has been amazing. But I've just found it a big struggle. And now I'm kind of like, yeah, who cares now? I'm kind of getting to that as well. So now I'm just, I am trying to be myself a little bit more. But it's also like, okay, I don't want to bore people with my personality. So I'm just like, maybe they don't want to hear this. So then that's why you kind of just see like the short, crisp videos. It's just like me saying educational advice rather than my personality, because I'm just like, people don't want to see this.
So speaking of you as a person, what are your current aspirations in life? I know there's like a deep question on a Saturday morning, but not for you, but
well, it's your Saturday afternoon and I'm slightly hanging. So I think this is a tough question, because I'm kind of trying to think about this in my head. I've got so many different routes you can go. I think the next thing for me is like, I want to build my YouTube. I think that's my main priority. And then everything else comes secondary to me right now. So YouTube is my current short-term like goal to kind of build. And then, you know, the long term, maybe having my own business or something would be brilliant. So
what do you actually see as the future of your YouTube channel? Like, what do you want it to develop into?
So I wanted to develop into career, entrepreneurship, and productivity advice, but also like my travel vlogs, you know, a little bit about me and myself as well. So it's a struggle, like, do I put that content onto this channel, or do I create a separate one? So I'm just like, no, I'm going to try and put everything on one, but I do feel like it's too much on one thing initially. So I'm just starting off with the career stuff, now slowly doing a little bit more productivity and like entrepreneurship stuff. I would love to talk about investing and other passions which I'm really interested in, which hopefully other people can relate to as well.
Yeah, that's actually kind of like a struggle that I constantly have. It's like,
I'm curious.
Yeah.
What about you? Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah, I was like, okay, I know like most people know me for tech consulting. They come to my YouTube channel for tech consulting, but I also have content on personal development, money, and then I also have vlogs. And more people are saying they want vlogs. I'm like, my life is so boring. Like, what do you want?
I feel the same though. And I feel like vlogs do the best on YouTube, but people on YouTube love vlogs, even if you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, just like relating to that person. So I've done this as well. Like for me, like I've always had this thought in my head, just like you, like, oh, vlogs, you know, it's just like a vlog, you know, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting on my desk working all day. But people love that for some reason. So yeah, if you enjoy, you know, working with us, we could do a work vlog or something. They love this.
Yeah, I actually did record a video. It's coming up. I think it's coming out next week or so. Amazing. And it's really just like, what am I doing in the following year? Because I did focus a lot more on technology consulting. I'm not leaving from technology consulting content. I'm still going to go over it. But I was just like, okay, so what can I do to make it a little bit more interactive, a little bit more fun? Because if you stick with the same content all the time, it gets a little bit boring. So doing more vlogs was something I wanted to try, which is actually kind of why I got the DJI Pocket 2. I'm like obsessed with it. So if you want to do more vlogging, you should get it. But it's just something that like this DJI Pocket 2 actually makes me want to pick it up and vlog, even though I normally don't like to vlog. But it does get me to think about like, oh, what could I possibly talk about? It's not just about my life. I could talk about topics while I'm doing my life.
Yeah, a lot of people do that actually. Even when you're making tea, talking about whatever you want, about cats, whatever you want, you do it, girl, you do it.
I'm looking forward to your London vlogs.
Thanks. I need to do some more. I've been trying, but it's just difficult because I'm like, do I record every single day of my second, or do I just pick it up and just you know talk? It's a bit fragmented. Like, this is off the record, by the way, but I'm saying my vlogs are really fragmented right now, which is why I've not uploaded anything to the vlogs yet. So I'm trying to still like learn And I think like basically because I haven't done a vlog in a very long time, I've only done one vlog. I think my next vlog needs to be like bam, wow, in a way. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be like a good vlog, I think, because I rarely do them. So I want to put a lot of effort into the next vlog, I think. Maybe let's see.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. So a question I do have for you is, what is something that most people don't know about you? And I know like you've been dropping little secrets here and there, but what is the one that you have not covered everywhere? I know like you dropped one in Consulting Guys podcast too, but
I did. That one now I can't say. I don't know. I do feel I'm quite open about myself. Oh God, this is difficult. I actually don't know, because I feel like I do say quite a lot. Like there's nothing like interesting. I like there actually isn't. Like Christine, I'm being serious. It actually isn't. The most interesting one was the one that I dropped on Consulting Guys podcast. But,
yeah.
Oh, okay. How about this? I love. I used to draw manga. How about that?
I learned about that in your 5,000 subscribers.
You know this? Oh my gosh! Well, okay.
But like, I mean, not a lot of people in my audience probably know about that. But when you said that, I was like, oh, girl, you like anime.
Here. I might have some. Oh my God, I have one here. Let's check it. Is this what I used to draw?
Oh my God! You still have that readily available? Like, do you?
I don't know. I just like have loads around. So that's like I have them.
So were you like a fan of anime and manga then, and then you just like wanted to be like someone who has their own comic book kind of thing, or you just like
initially like when I was like, this is like from this, by the way, those drawings from when I was 11, by the way, like 11 12, like so long ago. But I used to watch a lot of anime back then, and I used to read a lot of manga. So then I was like, oh, let me see if I can try and do my own comic book. Didn't really work. So
so what's your favorite anime and what's your favorite manga?
Okay, I mean, nothing beats Avatar, and I know this is like a very like standard anime. There's loads of, obviously there's such good ones that that comes out, but obviously like Avatar is like, if I had nothing to do, I would put Avatar on in the background just to watch, because I just love that. I can watch it again and again. My favorite manga, oh my God. Oh God, there's one which I really like. It's called Oran High School Host Club.
Oh, that was my I think it was my very first one ever. That was my gateway.
That was my second one I ever read when I was really young. And I picking that one just because I can still remember that one vividly in my head. So yeah, I love that. And actually there was another one called The Bride of Hebek. That's actually my favorite, The Bride of Hebek. Yeah,
I've never heard that one before.
Everyone needs to like read that one.
How do you spell it? Hebek?
Hebek, I think.
Sounds good. I've been like so into the shoujo manga, so I'm like,
I love shoujo manga. You need to read Vampire Night. Vampire Night is so good.
I watched that. I read that. I'm not a huge fan of it.
I love
Vampire Night. Is better, yeah.
Vampire Night was my first one I ever read when I was like 11. That's why I know that's like my go-to first one I ever read. And then it was Oran High School Host Club. But my favorite one, by the way, is Bride of Hebek. So that one's definitely should be on your list.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I've had this term called, is it like ambivert? Like, yeah, I've definitely really extroverted with my with my friends, or like when I'm speaking. But then when I'm just like in my room, I'd be really introverted. I'll just be like, I think in my house actually I'm very introvert. No, it depends. Okay, I'm really bad at answering your questions today. Okay, let's start this again. I think it really depends. There's definitely a term called the ambivert, and I am definitely extroverted, but I'm also very introverted, and it just depends on literally how I woke up in the morning. So there's some days which I'm really introverted and I don't want to speak to anyone, but some days which I'm really extroverted and just like full of energy. So yeah, that's definitely me.
Okay. Yeah, this is the one that I could not really pin on you, to be honest. Yeah. I was like, which one are you? You act extroverted, but I don't know, like maybe that's just how you want to be on camera, because why would anyone want to listen to someone drone like this forever? But
actually everyone loves Kelly Stamps. Everyone loves Kelly Stamps, and she's introverted, I think. Yeah. But I definitely I'm definitely full of energy. Like if there's one word which would define me, is energy. But I'm definitely very introverted when I'm like by myself, or just days where I just don't want to speak to anyone. It's like 0 or 100 for me either. Really.
All right, so I do have a few other questions that I do want to ask you. So what or who shaped you to who you are today?
Oh, my mum, for sure. 100%. My mum has definitely rubbed off me. I think everyone says I'm like 99% like her. So who you see is basically my mum. But no, she's definitely been the inspiration and the person who shaped me the most in my life. Yeah, for sure.
So is it mostly through your personality, maybe your goals and values as well?
I think everything from like personality to also like my temperament to yeah, my goals and my values, I think, is both my parents for sure. I think, but like, I'm not sure how it is in your family, but the typical brown family always ends up you pushing your goals even further and further.
Yeah.
So I do think that, you know, that is who has shaped me, and, you know, that ethic in a way has actually helped me rather than hinder me. So they have definitely been the big, like, you know, inspirations in my life for sure.
Okay. So on the vein of consulting, so you came from a physics background, startups, and now consulting. Can you give us a rundown of your career path thus far? Like, I know you mentioned startups, but when I was on your LinkedIn, I was like, I didn't really see much on there. So I was kind of curious about like, what were the experiences like? Did you start an idea? Did someone try to like add you on as a founder, or were you actually just joining on like a pre-existing startup?
Yeah, so I've worked on a few startups. A couple was I actually started my own and with my own idea. Another couple, basically, I worked with another individual who came with me with that idea. But that was obviously at a time where I basically put all my hands into different baskets. I was trying out different things as well around when I was working with this other individual. So learned a lot from working on those startups. And essentially, I could never scale my ideas. So I decided to come to Big Four to learn that and take it away. But I'm still here. I'm still here.
So are you kind of like tabling that idea for you to use Deloitte as like a little playground, and then after Deloitte, you would bring it back up?
Yeah, that's what my original plan was. I don't think that I will go back to working on a tech startup, because I was working on tech startups. I think, look, there's always room for another idea, but it's just so saturated. And I think people really over hype how amazing it is to work on your own startup.
Yeah.
I think it's actually very difficult, a big struggle. And I just think that I'd rather spend my time on doing, if it's an idea which I'm like, wow, I really believe in it, and, you know, I think it's going to change the world, right? Like an Elon Musk idea, for instance, okay? Then yeah, obviously I'd do it. But sometimes a lot of people, what they do is that they work on startups just because they want to be an entrepreneur, rather than actually like falling in love with that idea and think it's going to change the world. They just think there's a problem which people can, you know, you need to solve. If it's an idea like that, I don't think I'd go and do it now. I think that, you know, there are other things which make me happy, and there are other things which I enjoy doing. But if it was an idea like, oh, Elon Musk changed the world, you know, then obviously I'd probably do it. But right now, I don't think I'm going to go back into the startup life. I might start my own business on the side, which is very different to working in the startup world. But yeah, I like going down the business route is probably what I would potentially do, actually.
Okay. So if you were to start your own business, what would that be? Or is that still under the wraps?
No. It's it'd probably be initially right now. It would be consulting for other firms or consulting for other people. That's what originally, like I'd love to do that on the side. But obviously I work for Deloitte, so I can't do that right now. But that would be a business which I would love to do for sure, 100%.
Okay, so this is the one I'm a little bit curious about, because you come from physics and startup background. How did you even find out about consulting? Because I feel like a lot of people don't even know about that until they know someone that's in consulting.
It was honestly me going to a careers fair. I didn't know anyone in consulting. When I applied, I didn't know anyone in consulting either. And I don't think I actually spoke to people who were consultants apart from going to Insight Days. So I found out about it in a careers fair. Sounded really interesting. So I was like, hey, let me check it out. Looked really interesting. Went to a few Insight Days, loved them, and then decided to actually apply for consulting. But I feel like you have to be really sure before you apply for a job, because I feel like your first job kind of shapes your career in a way. So for me, I did a bit of due diligence before I decided to apply for consulting.
Okay. So did you learn about consulting before you entered the startup space, or you went to these career fairs while you were doing these startups?
While I was doing them.
Okay.
So I had worked, my first idea was working on my own jewelry e-commerce brand when I was 11, 12 years old. So when I was very, very young. And then like in uni, I worked on tech startup ideas rather than like, you know, a product-based one. During that time, during this, not the second year, it was the third year of uni, I was working on one key idea, which we were driving at that time. And like when things were getting faulty, I think also my mom and my dad were like, okay, you need to like find a job, because you know, when you come from like an Asian family, they're like, hey, you need to find a job. You being your own entrepreneur, it's not giving you any stable income at the end of the day, right? So I completely understand where they're coming from, because for them having stable income is, or like, you know, it's difficult for people, especially like migrants who come right from other countries. So that's kind of like your end goal, is to have like a stable income. So so I went to careers first and just to keep them happy. I did find out about consulting there. I was like, oh, this sounds interesting, and then I decided to apply.
Okay. So this is the part that I was actually really curious about. So now you're at Deloitte, you went from ventures, tech, digital, and strategy, and now you're in customer strategy and product, and now you're proposition design, customer experience, innovation. It's like a mouthful there. But how did you pivot through that? Was this something that like when you came into consulting, you were already in that sphere, or maybe it was something that you networked into? And not to mention, like, it seemed, I mean, they're kind of related, but how did you jump from them? Was it mostly the projects that dictated, or were you actually physically moving where you were within?
A physical move was when I went to ventures. Okay. So I moved op units, or I got seconded. So I got seconded to the op unit. So basically I actually moved essentially. But then I did another move when I went to digital, basically. So, but my strategy, but basically projects wise, I networked to get onto strategy monitor projects. I networked to get into digital projects as well. I networked even to get into the ventures, basically. So what the thing that helped me do all of that was networking, and also just knowing my shit. So because I came from the startup space, I was like, venture sounds so cool, and that's exactly where I think I see myself, you know. So I decided to just like reach out to an individual who was leading one part of the ventures team. Didn't know that in the first meeting I had with him was kind of like an interview in a way. Like he was asking me like, what's your favorite startup? Why, like, you know, what, like, you know, why this startup? You know, what other startups have you seen in this space? You know, it was a conversation, but actually he was interviewing me to understand if I was actually passionate, because a lot of people just say that they, you know, want to move or try this thing without really being passionate or doing their research. So I think being prepared and also networking was my two things which helped me to get onto these projects, to be honest. So
what were the difference in projects for that? Like for ventures, I'm like, well, what kind of projects do we expect?
It was so in ventures in the UK, it's a little bit different. Okay. You have one which is like an incubator. So one side of it is an incubator, but also that's an incubator for products for your own firm. If that makes sense. And the other side was finding new startups, and which I was kind of working on that side a little bit more. I also did work with the IoT team specifically to kind of do projects with them, and sell products, like sell products in a way, which was quite interesting. I had a point though. Hold on, I forgot. Forgot this point.
Wait, so when you were valuing startups, was that for Deloitte to acquire or for your clients to acquire?
No, for Deloitte to invest in.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And Deloitte, so I didn't specifically do the valuations, but I helped to find and I mean, the whole startup process is very, very long. Is you have to find them, you have to filter through them, understand the team, the people, the actual product, and, you know, validate them. And then you end up valuing them, and then you end up deciding, you know, through a few things. So I used to work on bits and bobs. Actually, mostly initially that stuff was mostly through like PD work. Most of the stuff was initially extracurricular activities, and then I was actually working on a IoT project at that time and helping to build the IoT part in ventures specifically. So that valuation side and finding startups was just my enjoyment, because I actually enjoyed going to events and finding startups, talking to them, bringing them back, validating them, verifying who the team, the people, the product, and yeah, I just loved doing it, and that's why I think people could see that I actually enjoyed doing it, and I wanted to actually help build the team, which is why I think I ended up being part of that team for a bit.
Yeah. All right. So when you were in customer strategy and product and proposition design, customer experience, like what kind of projects did you have then? And I mean, like, I know you probably have a lot of them right now, but what were the differences in projects?
So tech consulting, when I first started, was actually, it wasn't really tech consulting. It was more like the first project was helping to manage all their vendors in the first project I joined like 4 years ago. Then I did another project. Let me start this one again. So when I first joined Deloitte, I did a project in tech consulting, which was initially a little bit about managing their vendors, and then a couple of other projects on operating, like the technology operating model, the technology strategy. But now in customer marketing, which is our more digital side, I literally help to come up with new ideas for products and helping to build them. I also help to design new customer employee experiences, digital, online. I also help to build these experiences out. So help to build products. So for instance, a project which I potentially am moving on to is helping to reshape the digital function, to understand firstly what this operating model is, they have a key focus on their mobile. Their key focus is to be able to sell via e-commerce, which they don't do right now. So helping to come up with, what are those journeys? What should it look like? What products should we be using, like mobile apps or whatever, right? And then how does it all work end to end, online and in store? And then helping to build these products out. That's essentially what I've been doing a little bit more recently.
Okay, so are you taking on like a product manager role in this?
Really depends on each project.
Okay.
So there's projects where I'm just working on the proposition and coming up with the new proposition, speaking to potential customers, focus groups, collating all of that and understanding, this is what your proposition, business model, everything should be, right? And that technically isn't digital consulting, but it's like it's like digital and strategy consulting mixed together. Then when I'm doing like experience design, again, I would say it's just a little bit further down the level. But when it comes to products, sometimes I am, as I said, sorry, repeating myself, but sometimes I am coming up with what the product strategy is, but sometimes I'm also managing the product, so being like a product owner. Because I think there's a difference between a product owner and a product manager, and it also depends on which firm you go to. But in we sometimes we are kind of proxy POs for clients, so we end up being POs for their products, which in my opinion isn't the most ideal thing to do, right? Because you technically want someone from their business doing that, but sometimes they don't have those individuals or the understanding, so they want something quick and dirty, which is when we end up stepping in like that.
Okay. Yeah, this was the part that I was kind of curious about, because I was like, well, if you're a product manager or product owner, are you doing it for them, or are you doing it within the Deloitte team, and then you're kind of like, here's the product to the client?
No, usually we're working literally with the client, so it'll be an integrated team with the client. So for instance, I may be the PO, for instance, but there'll be a team underneath, client-based, as well as client and obviously Deloitte, and we'll mix together. Obviously, have some business analysts, some devs, and testing and so forth. But at the end of the day, the PO would be making those key decisions. And I've also worked on projects, by the way, where I've worked next to a PO and helped them and guided them and helped them to do it themselves. So it just depends on the client, where they are, what they're looking for, really.
Yeah. Okay. So is this something that you want to continue doing, or do you feel like you've like learned what you've got and then you want to kind of pivot somewhere else now?
The question to me is like, what do I pivot to next? Because I do think that this part of consulting is very, very synergetic to I think that's a new word, synergetic. It's a very I think it's a very closely aligned to entrepreneurship and you being able to take those skills and work on new products and work on stuff yourself. Like I do love working on products and I do love coming up with new product ideas, proposition ideas. So this space is something which I think I want to delve a little bit deeper into as well.
So if you were to leave consulting, would you want to right off the bat start your own business, or would you want to maybe go to a tech startup and kind of learn how they do it first and then go into a new business? I mean, new business, tech startup, they're different, but like where would you want to start?
So
I think exit.
I think I do think that the tech startup life, let me start this one again. I do think that I do think that I have a clear understanding of how tech startups work. And I have worked with tech startups. I've also worked with clients who are in that space as well, or have created a function in that space as well. So I wouldn't go to the tech startup, maybe a unicorn. I completely get that. Like a unicorn I'd go to, but a unicorn would just be like working industry to me, to be honest. Every client is different, and it's all about the culture, the way that they work, which is how they differ essentially. So I don't know if I'll take it to another. I don't know if I'll go into industry right now. I haven't decided. I love consulting. I love the variety of work, but I also do want like a nice life so that I can work on YouTube and stuff like that on the side as well, because consulting doesn't really give me that right now. I would say it's really difficult to work hours in consulting as well as try and fit everything in.
So would you say like your current projects, or maybe like in the past it has been, are very intensive with your work hours, and it makes it pretty hard to do like a little side hustle on the side? Like I know you kind of keep weekends or maybe weekday nights to be for your YouTube channel, but do you find it very hard to balance that? Is it sometimes like almost always going to be long hours, or is it kind of like cyclical?
It's cyclical, but I don't know when it's going to happen. That's the thing.
Okay.
It's really difficult to understand when you're going to be working really late. Like I think right now I'm on a really short and sweet 4-week project, right? I know that it's going to be really intense. When that these 4 weeks I'm not going to be able to film or whatever as much as I wanted to. But then I know that maybe, you know, a week after I might be having a bit more of a less intense week because I'm going to be on the bench or something, waiting for my next project, which I know is going to start the week after, for instance. So sometimes you can time it and understand it, but a lot of the time when you're actually on a project, like, you know, like a 6-month project, you don't know when something's going to like mess up, or when the client wants something tomorrow. So I think it is really difficult to plan properly, but there are definitely times or loose windows when you know that, okay, I know roughly I'm going to have some time here to work on stuff.
Okay. So are majority of your projects short? It kind of seems like that. Yeah.
Like, okay. I would say majority of my projects are like 1 to 2 months.
Oh, wow.
I would say. When I've worked on delivery, which is once, I've only worked on delivery once. That was a year for me. I might be starting a strategy to delivery project soon, and that's I know I want to stay on that client for a little bit longer because I want to try and see it through delivery and understand the end-to-end process. So yeah, that would be a long one too, I think. But okay. I try to do a bit of strategy, a bit of maybe delivery, a bit, and then I've come back to strategy now. And now I want to go back to delivery just to kind of make sure I keep getting all the skills and sort of just building on each skill instead of like segmenting myself into one box.
Yeah, and this is why you should vlog, because like even though we're both consultants, I'm like, I don't even know how your life is going to be like. I didn't even know your projects were that short. Mine were all like at least 8 months old, and then some of them are 2 years old. I mean, it kind of makes sense with delivery depending on how like big this damn software is, but it would be pretty interesting to see like how your day in your life is. I mean, like it seems like you're working in a startup within Deloitte, and then you're also working with client. Like the interactions seem pretty interesting. And it is also pretty cool because it's not just consulting where you're like, here's a slide deck. I mean, you probably do a lot of slide decks too.
Yeah,
but
I do a lot of slide decks.
But you do a lot of cool research, which is like probably what people would be doing in product teams within your tech startups too.
Yeah, 100%. I would say that our digital arm is more like an agency in a way.
Okay.
Very creative, but very based on insights and data. And a lot of the time that data, obviously you get secondary, but a lot of the time is primary research. So we do a lot of like, and that's why I call it proposition design. It's like coming up with new propositions, new products, designing for them in terms of your from your business and business model side to your functional side, and then even your your technical side. And I don't really touch the technical side or the testing or whatever, but I go from like strategy to design, I would say, and that's kind of where I focus myself.
All right. So with all of these projects, and with a lot of them short term, probably you have like tons under your belt, but which one was your best project and which one was your worst project? So in this case, like what did you like rather than like,
for me, my best projects are always when I've learned the most. And I know it sounds really corny to say and very cliche, but my best projects to me, like it always depends on what's important to you. Like to me, it's when I'm learning, and to me, it's also working on a really like on a project which I just love, right? And that for me is like the actual what I'm doing. So I think the best project I've probably worked on is a British retailer coming up with their digital strategy. And that was really interesting because we've never worked with a client. It was in the luxury space. We've never worked with a client in the UK in that space. So it was really interesting to see. Just basically also it's a very different culture in terms of, sometimes how they are and how much they focus on creative. So it was, their priorities were very different, which is why I found that really interesting. There was one project which I was working very, very, very intense hours. And on that project, I definitely did an all-nighter once as well. So that was definitely my worst project. And those projects end up being the really short ones because you try and jam pack so much in them that you end up working really late and then, compensating it, trying to compensate it, but you can't because you're working the next day really late as well.
So what percentage of your day is actually client calls or workshops?
It really depends. And it depends what part of the project you're in, because then obviously when you're like working on the design side, you're going to be like 2 weeks of workshops no matter what, I would say, right? So right now I'm in the workshop stage, but then next week I'll be just writing some of our findings and stuff like that as well, and like getting into a PowerPoint to give to the client. So I would say at least 50% of my day is meetings minimum. For sure. Sometimes it's all day, but at a minimum, I do think it's 50%.
All right. So enough about careers. We're going to go into the fun stuff, your YouTube channel. So you have a YouTube channel with over 5,000 subscribers. Congratulations, by the way. And you also have an Instagram account with over 5,000 followers as well. So I know you mentioned to me you were planning this for a long time, but like, how did this even get started? Were you planning this even way before when you started at Deloitte, or you knew you wanted to do some kind of YouTube channel way before, but you just didn't know what?
I had this idea to start YouTube very early on. And actually, I think in university, I was one of those bait girls whom I made one video on doing makeup on myself just to like try it out and realize actually now that it's not going to work for me. But I had this idea about doing YouTube for people to get into consulting 3 years ago, my first and second year of consulting. So I was like, oh, people would love to know some of this stuff. So, but I was like, nah, no one wants to listen to all this stuff. There's not really anyone who watches YouTube for all this stuff, I thought. So I just parked it. And also I just didn't have time with how intense, especially your first couple of years in consulting are learning something new and everything. But with the pandemic, I was like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Let me just try to have so much time. I've literally got nothing else to do. So let me just like start it. And that's when I decided to start it. I also had basically I do one-to-one helping people with CVs and all this stuff. So I was like, why not just give that advice to a lot of people and just direct people to my YouTube videos now? So I started it out of the blue. Didn't really plan it, didn't really batch or do all that stuff which you're meant to do. I did prep in terms of like watching as many YouTube videos on how to start a YouTube channel, And yeah, I started, I think I had the idea in May, and I started doing it in June.
Okay.
So I think it's a quick turnaround, actually, personally, when you've got to get all the equipment and all this stuff and just understand editing and how to edit and all this stuff. So it took me, I probably did like a month of research, I would say, just to make sure that this is something which I definitely want to do long term. Because there's no point me doing my efforts on something which is not sustainable, or I won't have fun doing either. So, but I started it, from May to June.
Okay. So I know for me at least, I was like debating between all the options, not just YouTube, on how I should do this. So were you also contemplating other opportunities, like maybe a podcast or maybe like a coaching program or a workshop or anything like that? Or was YouTube the one that you knew you wanted to do?
I didn't even think about podcasts or even like coaching programs on this. I didn't even think about it. For me, it was like, how can I reach the mass audience very easily, and like, where will my advice help the most in a way? And for me, it was like, okay, people won't really be able to, I didn't really go through this process. Well, now I think about it, like, people don't, like, I don't think a lot of people find podcasts very easily. I think it's really difficult to find podcasts. Whereas people use YouTube to search for things. So I thought that's probably one of the best ways to do it. Yeah. So yeah, YouTube was my main thing I decided to do, and it was my only focus. I did think about Instagram at that point though. I was like, okay, I don't know if there really is a market for this, so let me just try some stuff on my Instagram to see if this is going to work. And that's what I initially used Instagram for, basically. So Instagram, you might not, I have deleted those posts, but in Instagram I started in May. And that's when I started doing a couple of posts just to see, like, is this stuff which people might want to find interesting. And then in June, that's when I started doing YouTube videos, by the way. So I was testing the audience in a way. So basically what I'm doing is taking like startup principles and applying it to this. Essentially, is what I've been trying to do, just to make sure that I'm doing what the audience wants.
Okay. So to balance between YouTube and Instagram, where was that actual happy medium? Because I feel like some content you can make in a YouTube video, some content you can condense into an Instagram post. And I see, like, right now, at least, it's like slightly different angles. So where was your strategy there?
I don't really have a strategy behind it. It's really bad to say. I haven't really thought about this. YouTube is just like long form content. Instagram, I've kind of using Instagram really to push people to my YouTube by small snippets from my YouTube. I wouldn't say like I like recently I've been trying reels and trying to reach more audience, but my brother says my reels are very cringe, so I should stop them. So they may come to a stop as well, so maybe no more reels. But yeah, no, I think Instagram is making more like fun content in a way, a little bit more short and snappy. If you want to find like a condensed version of maybe like a previous video, you can potentially go to my Instagram and find that. But my YouTube is like my long form, educational, deep, like gets into like the nitty gritty, I would say.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more on Instagram Reels. So I mean, like, that, are you sure it's not what your brother is saying as a brother, or like, is he actually being honest? Because I actually like Instagram Reels, but then again, I also probably do a lot of cringeworthy ones, and no one's telling me because they don't have the guts to say it. But
yeah, I was like, girl. So I was like, oh, brother, that's not nice. But he was like, no, they're really cringe. So I think, maybe some, but I do feel like the cringe ones, people love them. People love, like, my cringy ones are the ones that get watched the most. My educational ones don't get watched at all. So then I'm just like, am I doing something wrong by all these educational posts? Like, so the cringe ones allow people to also see your personality at the same time. Which I think is fair.
Yeah. Do your clients know about your Instagram Reels?
No, I don't think so. But my partners follow me on Instagram, so they can see it.
For some reason, my YouTube channel, I have no problem. But then my Instagram Reels, I'm like, ooh.
I think it's because it's like more cringy. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's more cringy. Whereas on YouTube, you like, there's so much information that you doubt they're going to watch all the way through. That's how I kind of see it. So I'm like, I can just stick it at the end, stick it at the end or something. Whereas with Instagram Reels, it's just so so short that you have to watch the whole thing, most of the time anyways, so they can literally like, they can get that information really quickly, I think.
Yeah. All right, so this is probably a juicy question, but how does it feel to be an influencer? What are things people don't know about growing a social media presence?
I don't really think I'm an influencer, firstly, at all. Can we just say educator?
That's like my constant fear is like, I don't know. I have like a stigma against influencer, and I feel like anyone in the educational area probably feels the same way too. They probably don't want to be at least compared to like a beauty influencer or anything like that. But I like to consider myself more of the content creator, if anything.
That's the word, content creator. I think I don't really have something against the word influencer, but to me, it's someone who's really influenced your life, right? Or a couple of, like, for me, it's like a key 3-4 people who I watch who are influencers because they do influence my life, or do take some sort of snippet from them and apply it to my life. I don't think I've even reached that yet. So for me, it's just like content creation. Content creator is the word that I like to use. I think the biggest thing that people don't realize is actually just like how much work it is. I think that people just see the final product. They see that shiny object at the end, but they don't actually understand, okay, it took like a week worth of filming, editing, all this stuff just to get it out there. So if you're like, you know, for people listening who want to start, it is a lot of work, and you need to do your homework to understand, is this something which you really want to do? Because I don't think when you're getting pressurized by the algorithms specifically, it's not like I'll post this month and then I'll post a month after, or whenever I feel like it. It's like I have to post each week.
Yeah, it's like a side job on top of your main job, which is like, I think like for us, that's at least my constant struggle is I mean, like, yeah, sure, I have my own main job, 40, maybe 50 hours a week. And then on top of that, my weekday nights, my weekends, where my relaxation, all of that is on my side job too. So really, I have to actually schedule time for personal time.
Yeah, and I think I think self-care is really important when you're doing this, because it's really easy to get burnt out. And I think that happened to me in December because I took so much on with YouTube, with events and stuff like that, and you know, obviously consulting. So now I do have one weekend a month where I literally just do nothing, don't touch social media, and I try to keep one day a week, which I try to, but it ends up being one day a fortnight where I just, again, do nothing as well. For me, I can't chill in the morning and then do content creation, or I can't do content creation in the morning and then chill. It's either like I'm working all day for it, and then I'll spend my whole time working for it, and then the next day I'll literally do nothing. It's like 0 or 100. That's how I work.
Oh, so your personality is like that, and your work-life balance is like that.
Exactly. It's true. That's how I basically work. And like, I think it's really important for people to understand how best do they work, because some people can't sit on their chair for 4 hours straight, but I can. I know I can, and I can just bash shit out over 4 hours, whereas some people need to take breaks and stuff. So it's just listening to your body and understanding what works best for you.
Okay, so what are your short and long-term goals with YouTube and Instagram?
And it's just really bad to say, but I haven't got goals which I'm like, oh, I really want to hit. I'm just doing it because I enjoy it right now. I think my goal with YouTube is to be able to get people to like me rather than like my content. I think that's my goal with YouTube. Okay, with Instagram, it's just a way for me to push people to my YouTube still. That's the goal for my Instagram, really. It's not about numbers for me. It's about it's not about numbers for me. It's about people enjoying my content and enjoying me at the end of the day, and you know, they resonate or they relate to me and be able to take something away from me. That's really it, to be honest.
So I also see you're pivoting your niche on YouTube, and I know like I messaged you about this too. So like, why and what can we expect from you?
Still keeping my corporate content, but adding in some productivity stuff, some side hustle stuff, and potentially some investing stuff. I'm really I'm really worried about how to do it well. And that's my biggest thing right now in my head. How do I bring in the stuff like this that I want to talk about, but also talk about career and not be and not like lose people, if that makes sense, in terms of like them understanding what my brand is. So I do want to move slightly away from consulting, but I don't want people to be like, oh, why is she talking about so many different things, you know, like investing, productivity, side hustle stuff. But these are just things which I relate to. So I'm just worried about that to flip in a way, and I don't know how to do it well. So I need to learn how.
So are you thinking about moving away from consulting completely, or just a little bit?
Just a little bit. Like, okay. I don't just want to do consulting content, because I think on my channel it's been just consulting content, really. So I want to move away from that and talk about other things like you know, side hustles, which we're both doing, you know, investing, which I've been doing as well, and then, you know, maybe some money stuff and productivity stuff as well, for sure.
Yeah, I can say this has been my struggle since day one. I was like, should I trickle in right away, or should I go 100% tech consulting and then trickle in later on? And then as I look into other YouTube channels, I was like, you know, Steph and Den, they kind of pivot a little bit away from consulting and more into finance. And then you also have people who like start off with fashion and then they go to like entrepreneurship and lifestyle and all of this other stuff. So there are so many different ways. I think it's just really seeing like why. Maybe it's the messaging. I don't know how they actually pivot themselves, but that is constantly on my mind as well. Like, okay, well, maybe if like, you know, our jobs are very focused on our career in consulting. So what if we left consulting? Now would everyone leave? And make content on consulting? I mean, like if you, for example, you were to start your own business as a consulting firm, I think you could still go over it. But for me, it's either consulting or not.
So I think it's fair, but I do think that you're right. What you do in life is going to change. Consulting maybe today, but tomorrow it might not be. So use YouTube as a way to kind of show people where you are at now, what's on your mind now, but also what you're interested in as well. Like I'm interested in investing, I'm interested in side hustles, and that's where I am right now, right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to focus my site. I think I'm going to try and focus that a little bit more as well now.
And the good thing is it's not our main income, so we could technically use it as like sandbox playground, do whatever we want, and it's not like we're depending on this income.
Exactly. So that's why, like, you know, just use it as a way to talk about things which you like talking about. That's how that's how I see it. And then hopefully you'll find people who will like talking about, like listening to that stuff as well.
All right, so to close off the episode, what is on the horizon for you in 2021?
More YouTube videos. I also want to make a course on PowerPoint presentations, because I spend so much time doing them, and it's actually one of my most watched videos, or like mostly resonated videos. So expect a PowerPoint presentation course from me, and I think that's enough for 2021.
Okay.
It's been like a pandemic. I'm okay doing small bits and bobs. So those are the two key things which I think you know, I'm focusing my time on this year.
Okay. All right. So where can we find you on social media?
Oh, yeah. You can find me at www.youtube.com/management.consultant, and on Instagram, management.consultant as well for now.
So speaking about pivoting, are you planning on changing that anytime? I like also your YouTube URL as well.
I think eventually I will.
Okay.
But right now people know me for consulting, so I'm sticking for it for now. I may change my YouTube URL, but my username on Instagram I'm going to keep as management consultant for now, until maybe I hit, let's say 10K or something, and then I might change it to myself.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yep. And what can we do to support you?
Just watch my videos. I'd love you guys to watch my videos. Maybe give it a big thumbs up. I think that's the biggest thing. I think, you know, it's so sweet that people message me and DM me.
Yes.
But if you just message me on my video, it would help me against the YouTube algorithm. That's the biggest killer. Like the YouTube algorithm is horrible. So it's just literally, you know, just liking, even just maybe posting a comment. I think that's the biggest way that people can support me right now, actually.
So that is like my constant struggle. Everyone messages me, they like post in the Facebook group, great and everything, but please do it on my YouTube channel.
So I'm even slightly toying into replying to Instagram DMs less and making a commitment to reply to every YouTube comment eventually. The nice ones, not the hate ones. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of doing, but I just don't know how to do that, because I do feel that it's rude and it's not right to do that.
Yeah.
But I do want people to message me on my YouTube more. So I need to think about how to do that.
Well, maybe when we do a revisiting podcast episode in 1 to 2 years, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, definitely, for sure.
Yeah. And then we have one last question, which is, do you have any last words of advice for our listeners?
Honestly, don't care about what other people think. Do what makes you happy, and make sure that whatever you do or not do, you won't have any regrets about it. So that's my advice for everyone.
Is that usually like your life motto?
Pretty much. Have no regrets. Just do it. Nike.
Drink Coke and carry on.
Drink Coke and carry on. Yeah.